Okay, welcome back. This is part 2 of the domain and range in interval notation as requested by one of the students in our class. So I've handpicked some questions to do. I'm not going to go do every single question with you, but I thought I'd just do one or two of each type of question. So for question K, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the powers. I'll see how many x's there are in total. There's 1 here. There's 2, so that's 3. Plus 3 is 6. Plus 3 is 9. So this is a nonic polynomial. So like a nonagon has 9 sides, this polynomial has, the highest power is 9, so it's a nonic polynomial. And so what is this going to look like? Because we know that it's to the power of 9, it's going to look something like this. But because it's negative, it's going to look the other way around. Okay, but it's going to be, of course, it's going to be a bit bumpy. So when we put that into Desmos, actually it looks like this. Okay, so quite bumpy, but in the end, the left-hand side is going up, the right-hand side is going down. Okay, so what does that mean? The domain. We know that the domain here is x is an element of all real numbers. Okay, goes on forever. And for the range, y is also an element of all real numbers. Therefore, when we write this in interval notation, because the domain is x is an element of all real numbers, it can be anything. It goes from negative infinity to infinity. Okay, and remember, whenever we use infinity or negative infinity, we have to use curved brackets. The range is going to be exactly the same, from negative infinity to infinity. Okay, question L. Here we have x squared plus y squared equals 4, which is a circle. A circle with a center of 0, 0, and a radius of 2. Okay, so we'll just draw our circle. Okay, a radius of 2. Therefore, the domain is from -2 to 2. Okay, that's the domain. So it's from -2, which is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to positive 2. Okay. And the range is also from -2 to 2. So -2 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 2. Okay, question 3. How are we going to write this in interval notation? Well, for the domain, because it includes -2, we use the square bracket. And because it includes 2, because of this or equal to sign, we use square brackets again. Same with the range, square bracket from -2 to 2, close square bracket. Alright. If you have any questions, just email me. Happy to answer. Let's look at n. So here we have x minus 2 in bracket squared plus y minus 3 in bracket squared is equal to 1, which means that we know that this is a circle. It's just that the center of the circle is positive 2, 3, and that the radius is 1. Okay, so when we draw this out, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3, that's the center. Let me just make more room. And then because the radius is 1, we'll just go 1 all around it, and we'll just draw a circle. Okay, so that's 3. that means that the domain is from here to here, which is 1, 2, 3. Therefore, the domain 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 3. The range, however, is from here to here, 2 to 4. So the range is 2 is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 4. So how do we write this in interval notation? Well, because it includes 1, let's highlight this. Because it includes 1, because it's less than or equal to, we use square brackets. So we're going to use a square bracket for 1. And because it includes 3, because it's less than or equal to 3, we use square brackets again. For the range, because it includes the 2, we use square brackets. Because it includes the 4, we use square brackets. Okay. Let's have a look at question P. Here we have y equals negative square root of 8 minus x squared, which we know is a semicircle. Okay. What does that look like? Well, we know that because y is negative, it's going to fall underneath the x-axis because y is negative. But this here is going to be root 8, or negative root 8. And this here is going to be root 8. I can simplify it, I'm just not going to do it at the moment. I'm not going to do that today. Because I'm not testing your ability to simplify surds, I'm testing your ability to graph them. So, what is the range? Oh, sorry, what is the domain? The domain is from here to here. So I should also put this one in here. Negative root 8. Okay, so the domain is from negative root 8, which is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to positive root 8. The range, however, is from here to here. From negative root 8, which is less than or equal to y, which is less than or equal to 0. So how do we write this in interval notation? Well, the domain, because it includes negative root 8, we use square brackets. And because it includes root 8, we use square brackets. Range. Because it includes negative root 8, okay, you notice when I'm highlighting the includes bit, I'm highlighting just the all equal to part of the symbol, okay, because that tells us it includes it. We use square brackets. And here, it includes 0. So we use square brackets. Okay, so for question R, here we have an absolute value function. Okay, and we know it's an absolute value because of the absolute value symbols. Okay. And when we draw this, we know that it's going to move to the right, or the vertex is going to move to the right to positive 3 over 2, and the graph is going to shift up 3. Okay, so that's what the vertex, that's where the vertex will be. So that is 3 over 2, and that's 3. The vertex is going to be here. And to find the y-intercept, we just let x equal to 0. So if this was 0, then we have 0 minus 3, which is minus 3, and the absolute value of minus 3 is 3. We've got 3 plus 3, which is 6. So we know it's going to look something like this. Okay? And because we know it looks like that, the domain is therefore going to be all real x, or x is an element of all real numbers. The range, however, we can see that y is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, all y's are greater than or equal to 3. So how do we write this in interval notation? Well, x, the domain is negative infinity. Let's do that again. Negative infinity to infinity. The range, however, is from 3, because it's greater than or equal to 3. But it includes the 3, so we use square brackets. But it's from 3 all the way to infinity. It goes on forever to infinity. But because it's infinity, we use a a curved bracket. Okay. Question T. Here we have y equals root 3 minus x plus 2, which is the upper half of an inverse parabola. So what does that look like if we were to graph this? So it looks something like this. Okay, so here the point is at 3, 2. It's just the upper half of an inverse parabola. So here we can see that the domain, the x values is from 3, but it's less than 3. It's less than or equal to 3. So we can see that here, domain x is less than or equal to 3. So if you want to write that in interval notation, we can see that it goes from negative infinity to 3. But because it includes the 3, we use a square bracket. Okay, and the range, we can see that the range here is all above 2. Y is greater than or equal to 2. So when we write this in interval notation, because 2 is the smallest, we're starting off with 2, and then we include it, so we use square brackets, we include the 2, but it goes on until infinity. So we use a curved bracket. Okay, question V. Here we have y equals 1 over 2x minus 3 plus 1, which is a hyperbola. And when we graph this, it'll look like this. So here we can see that the asymptotes are x is equal to 3 over 2, because if x was 3 over 2, then the denominator will become 0, and we can't divide by 0. So because we can't divide by 0, this entire fraction can never be 0. Therefore, y can never be 0 plus 1, y cannot be 1. So the second asymptote is at y equals 1. So the domain is x is an element of all real numbers, except that x cannot be 3 over 2. And the range is y is also an element of all real numbers, except that y cannot ever equal to 1. So how do we write this in interval notation? Well, because the graph we can see is split into two different arms, okay, or I'm not sure what they're called, two different curves, we can see that we need to use the union symbol. So for the left bit, the domain is from negative infinity all the way up to, but not including 3/2. And the right one goes all the way to infinity from 3/2, but it doesn't include 3/2. Okay, so because it doesn't include it, we need to make sure that we use curved brackets. So the domain is from negative infinity all the way to 3/2. But we don't include a 3/2 because there's an asymptote there, so we use a curved bracket. Or from 3/2, because we use a curved bracket because it doesn't include 3/2, it goes all the way to infinity. And the range, we have a look at the graph again. This left one, the range is from negative infinity all the way to 1, but it doesn't include the 1. Okay, the asymptote is there. And from the right one, we can see it's from 1 to all the way to infinity, but it doesn't include the 1. Okay, y can never equal to 1. That means that the range is from negative infinity to 1, but not including it, or slash union from 1 all the way to infinity. And let's have a look at one more question. We have y equals 2 to the 2x minus 4 plus 3, which is an exponential. So what does this look like? So it looks something like this, where pretty much we are shifting the parabola 2 to the 2x minus 4 up 3. So before we have the asymptote down here at y equals 0. Now the asymptote has shifted up to y equals 3, so it's never going to touch 3. So we can see here that x, the domain, is all real x. Okay, so the domain, x is an element of all real numbers. However, the range has to be greater than 3. Okay, no matter what, the graph will always be greater than 3. So y is greater than or equal to 3. Sorry, not or equal to. It's just greater than 3 because the asymptote is at 3. So what does that look like in interval notation? Well, domain is from negative infinity to infinity, but range, it's greater than 3. So 3 is the smallest one. And it goes all the way to infinity. And we use a curved bracket here for 3 because there's no or equal to sign. So we don't include the 3. That's why we use a curved bracket. Okay, and I hope that helps. If you have any questions, just email me specific ones and I'll try and help you out. That's it for this video.